This evening in the House of Commons, there was a debate about the second reading of the illegal immigration bill, the thing that Suella Braverman has been promoting to send people back to Rwanda, to make it impossible for people who cross the channel to claim asylum and so on. Braverman opened the debate by saying that her plans are backed by the majority of the British people. I'm sorry, therefore, to be an exception, but I don't think I'm alone. And I'm going to quote a number of MPs who spoke against the bill, and all of the ones I'm going to quote are Conservatives. So when Suella Braverman starts off by saying she will not be hectored by out-of-touch lefties, I don't intend to refer to any of those out-of-touch lefties. I refer only to Conservatives who objected to this bill. Now, the bill passed by 62 votes. That's 312 to 230. So with a clear Conservative majority, it doesn't look very good, really. Now, I don't normally have anything positive to say about Mrs. May, whom I hold personally responsible for starting the hostile environment and putting up so much bureaucracy as an attempt to make the Home Office look efficient. It failed, and more than that, I think it contributed to the slowdown which we see dramatically today, where basically nothing gets done in the Home Office at all. But today, she spoke some sense. So the new immigration bill got its second reading. Not a great victory, 62 votes. And Mrs. May was among the Conservative MPs to abstain from that vote. She said that anyone fleeing persecution faces a blanket dismissal, which is exactly what Suella Braverman proposes. And by definition, someone fleeing for their life will more often than not be unable to access a legal route, even if there were one. We are shutting the door, she says, on those victims who have been trafficked here into slavery in the UK. We are leaving them. We are abandoning them. If they come here illegally, often through force or by force, they will not be supported to escape slavery. Sir Robert Buckland thinks also that we can do much better, and he thinks the tone of the bill is inappropriate. He said, "I'm not prepared to break international law," and he's echoing Chris Skidmore. He says, "Not prepared to break international law or human rights conventions that the UK has had a proud history of playing a leading role in establishing." Chris Skidmore said, "We have a duty to treat people humanely." All of those things I absolutely endorse. And other people were saying how they were troubled by this bill. I'm troubled by this bill that seeks to criminalise children, pregnant women, families, and to remove them ultimately to Rwanda. And the threat, of course, that children will be, who come here will be expelled from Britain the moment they are 18. But it's Mrs. May's observations, I think, that dominate. The Home Office knows this means general victims of modern slavery will be denied support. And Caroline Noakes has said, another Conservative MP has said the bill gives her absolute horror. And Simon Hoare has said that he thought that people probably would vote for the bill on the assumption that their good faith tonight means that the bill can be amended. I'm not so sure that his optimism is justified. I don't know whether the bill will be amended. I think Suella Braverman is quite determined that the bill will go forward in its present form. And victims of modern slavery and Mrs. May's terminology will be collateral damage to Suella Braverman's mad crusade. Mad crusade, of course, is my word. It's all about reputation and responsibility, or it should be all about reputation and responsibility, ours. What we stand for and what we do. And, you know, it's simply wrong. And Mrs. May also, in her speech, she pointed out that the idea that most of the illegal migrants were people who'd come over in boats, many of the people who come over in boats proved to have very good grounds for asylum. She says that most of the illegal migrants are actually people who've come here with a visa and have overstayed their time here. And of course, that is why, when she was Home Secretary, she focused so much on students and made students so miserable. So, I mean, I'm not entirely sure I agree with her reasoning, but I certainly agree with her that many of the people who come here on boats are not, in fact, fraudulent. They have very good reasons to be given asylum and to appeal for asylum, and we should be honouring the 1951 Refugee Convention and the UN Convention, of which we were signatories and of which we played a leading role in establishing these conventions. So there we are. Mrs. May does something positive for once. Oh my goodness.